Our next guest for the Rock House series of interviews is none other than Rusty Brown. Rusty is the vocalist and founding member of the Australian megastars Electric Mary. Electric Mary have taken the world by storm with a number of album releases, as well as tours supporting Whitesnake, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, and Glenn Hughes. Rusty, welcome to the Rock House. How are you today?
Yeah. Hey, you forgot my favorite band, Deep Purple.
We
also toured with them.
My word.
And Whitesnake.
No, we got Whitesnake down there. So.
Oh, we did. Did we?
Deep Purple.
Whitesnake was the
Deep
first.
Purple.
I want to say 2010.
Yeah.
I want to say 2010. Those years now are pretty. I actually thought we released our Down to the Bone album in 2009, but I don't think we did. I think it was earlier than that. So yeah, the years have gone by in a big haze for me now.
It certainly does, doesn't it? But let's take you back just a little bit if we can first, Rusty. I want to hear about what inspired you to get into the music game.
It was pretty simple. I wasn't that flash at sports, which is a big thing back in the day. I loved it, but I wasn't flash at it. And one of the teachers at school asked, does anyone in the class sing? Can somebody sing? He was putting on a play.
Yep.
And I didn't say yes. About 5 or 6 of my mates did. He can sing. So I was sung. And, we did the play. And one of the guys who went to our school, I'm still friends with actually to this day.
Yep.
Came up to me the next day and he said, "You're the singer in my band." I went, "What?" He said, "I saw you last night. You're the singer in my band." And probably, I may get the numbers wrong, but probably about 30 people come up to me that day and said, "You were great last night." And I think my brain went, "Yeah, that's what I'm doing."
Fantastic. Were there any early vocalists that you looked to help?
Always Coverdale. Always David Coverdale.
Yeah.
David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes are the first. Actually, they're probably not the first. The first person I loved was John Lennon. I loved the sound of his voice. But as a teenager, getting in, trying to find where you are, those years of 12 to 15 to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 is when you start trying to find out exactly who you are, was when, because I already loved Deep Purple. I loved Ian Gillan. I loved everything about him. And then they, somehow you get, it's not like we didn't have the internet then. So we get this story that Ian Gillan's gone and Roger Glover's gone. And they picked up these 2 new guys. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. 2 young guys.
And I'm pretty sure that the drummer in our band was a little bit older than me. And we got the Burn record together and we put it on in his bedroom and put the needle on. And like, soon as it started, it was like, oh, wow. Not only have you replaced Ian Gillan, who's awesome, but you've replaced him with someone actually better. 2 guys. It took 2 people to replace Ian Gillan. But as soon as I heard their voice, it was all over. Because they did Coverdale has the rock and the gravel of the Joe Cocker, which I loved as a kid. I've got an older brother and I was really influenced by what he listened to. And Joe Cocker was a huge influence. And, Glenn Hughes had the smooth, soulful.
And still does.
And, it's funny because I've actually just thought about it now. 2 of the things that my brother listened to a lot was Joe Cocker and Chicago. Now, if you think about it and you think about the gravel of David Coverdale joining, and then the smoothness of Peter Cetera singing in Chicago, I've actually just made a connection here. That's mad. It's possible that's what made me feel good about it.
Yeah, very true.
I'm actually being serious.
Yeah,
Like I've just
like
made a connection.
similarities there as well. But you talk about that Coverdale and Hughes combination, you know, Byrne, Stormbringer, Come Taste the Band, just those two guys singing together was absolutely
Yeah.
magic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rusty, you've been writing music ever since the age of 14. Do any of these music that you wrote back then, do they still appear on your releases that are coming up forward?
No, not really, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe the influence of things I did back then, um, you know, are still around. In fact, I was with Pete today, our
Yeah.
guitarist, and I picked up the guitar and I said, "Oh, I wrote this riff the other day," and I played it, and he went, "That's like another riff you wrote," and I went, "Nah, it's not." And he picked up the guitar and he started playing, and it wasn't exactly the same, but you know what? It was something from 6 years ago that's probably just stuck in my mind.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly, but it was something close to something I'd already written before and not done anything with. So,
Wow.
yeah, I always had this feeling that things that stay in your head. You may have done something when you were 20 years old that you just never did anything with, and it just hangs around until one day it pops out.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mate, there's many things that I did when I was 20 years of age that I wish popped out of my memory. But anyway, we'll move
Me too, brother.
on.
Things that should pop out yesterday should leave.
So, Electric Mary, the band itself formed in 2003, and it was formed after a few ideas that you got from visiting Jimi Hendrix Electric Lady Studios. What was the inspiration about forming this great band after visiting those studios?
So before that, I was playing in a band called Erwin Thomas, which is Jack Jones from Southern Sons. So I was in his band. I was the bass player, and we went to New York. He was doing a thing for BMG, and he actually was the one who got invited to the Jimi Hendrix studio, and I just tagged along with him. Um, I'd already written a few songs for something, but I didn't know what it was. And, I got the name Electric Mary, April 14, 2003. That's when we're there. I got that name that day. And as a little bit of time went on and I started doing more and more songs, and Jack was moving away from what he was doing, we kind of just switched roles, really. He became the guitarist of Electric Mary.
Wow.
And I became the singer, and because before I was the bass player and he was the singer. Yeah, and then we went about going with Electric Mary for the next 7 years before he, went back to, doing what he wanted to do for his own music.
Yeah. We talk about powerful vocal duos. For Australian rock, there couldn't be any more powerful than you and Owen. At that time,
he wouldn't sing a song though. I said, "Come on, man, let me write a song where I sing a verse and you sing a verse." And he just said, "No, you're the lead singer. You do it." Okay. I would have liked it. It would have been cool.
You never know what's around the corner.
Never know.
That's right. 2004 was the debut, Four Hands High. What was the writing like for that? I mean, there's some great tracks on that, which just echo great classic rock from the 70s. Tracks like Busted, Crushdown, and for me, the Stadium epic, We All Go Down. What was the inspiration behind this album?
I think I was just writing a bunch of songs. We did a friend of ours, Reggie Bowman, who was also in Southern Sons with Jack, was his house burnt down or his studio burnt in a fire. Maybe it didn't burn down, but it got badly burned. So we put that band together. We didn't call it Electric Mary though. We called it Tappet Clearance. And we did a whole bunch of songs that I'd been writing. So it just felt so good. It felt so good. Venom was in that. Andy MacGyver, who was in Taxi Ride, plays with James Rain now. Patch, who's playing with the singer of the Tea Party, Jeff
Martin.
Jeff Martin, Irwin, and that was it. And that was me. And I'd met Pete before, but I spoke to him that night about, would you be interested in, I remember saying it to him, making a band like we would have made when we were 15, like just to play music, because that's what you're doing. You're just playing music. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, let's not like try and get a deal or anything. Let's just, there's solos. If there's screaming, if there's a drum solo, there's a drum solo. Like we used to like the music we liked. Yeah, we liked music in the 70s and we love music in 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. But, a lot of the rock, the bombastic kind of rock was sucked out of the 80s by producers and machines, and it wasn't until grunge music came back really for me. I mean, I still like bands in the 80s. I always love Foreigner. Anyone that can sing is fine by me. And Lou Gramm, he's magic,
Magic, man. And Foreigner remain one of my favorite days, just on the back of, how great that band was as a together.
Dio was still singing great.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my favorite bands from them, and I still love them now, it's a little bit of a they came from the hair metal days, but it was a band called Enough's Enough.
Enough's Enough,
them, yeah, love them. I still love them today. Anyway, look, that bombastic kind of rock stuff that got sucked away in the 80s. I wanted to be a part of doing that again, because I enjoyed that. When Nirvana and that came along, and as good as they were, and Pearl Jam to a certain extent, guitar solos and that were out. That sort of stuff didn't really happen anymore. I mean, you still had Guns N' Roses, of course, but and I suppose not that they were my favorite of that era, but Soundgarden, I always used to think, gee, you sound like Ronnie James Dio. Like Chris Cornell was a great singer, unbelievable singer. But they had their own thing, and I love that. Anyway, I just wanted to do that bombastic kind of stuff that people did, where the band and the crowd were one. And I say it a lot of times at shows, Freddie used to do it all the time. Well, and then the crowd, well, da, 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 all that shit, that I used to love that, man. I do that stuff. Justin from the Darkness does that stuff. Some people might probably think he's taking the piss, but he, I reckon he believes it, because I reckon he's grown up with it and he loves it and he's good at it.
Yeah.
And
he cites that Freddie Mercury was one of his greatest influences, and you can see that in his stage show as well.
Yeah, he's amazing. We're actually doing a show with them in France in September.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, but look forward to some video clips from it.
Yeah.
We then moved over to the second album, which continued that really large bombastic rock. Down to the Bone was released somewhere around 2009. And the album opens up with just classic rock tracks like Sorry, Let Me Out, One in a Million. Was the approach that you took with the second album different from what you did with the first?
Yeah. Well, to go back to your question before, I didn't really talk about that album. That album was Reggie's idea. So he brought recording stuff over to my house, and basically it was Venom and I who played bass, drums, and sang, and then different guitarists played. So Pete played songs, Jack played songs, Cam McKenzie from Horsehead played on a song. I probably played a minimal bit of guitar, and then Reggie mixed it, and then Down to the Bone came a little bit later than that. What was it, 3-4 years after that?
Yeah.
And that was just, I think we'd found our sound. Do you know what I mean? Because Four Hands High is quite different to Down to the Bone. And, you know, it kind of moved its path into where I think it wanted to go. And yeah, it was just great moments. We just had great times. Everything was fresh. You know, everything was new for us. We're an actual band now. We had the members were settled. We had Nilo on bass at that stage. And it was just good fun. You know, nobody, we rehearsed during the day. We'd go, there's a place, I've forgotten what it's called now. Oh my God. And I was actually inspired by, and I'm going to forget their name too, and I always do. What's Chris Cheney's band called?
Oh, geez, you've got me.
You know, yeah, the three piece from Melbourne.
The
You
living,
don't need no, the Living End.
yeah,
Nobody,
huge following here in Australia. So
nobody works as hard as they do. And I used to go to rehearsal or down to that place to buy strings or whatever, and they were always there. Always there, always rehearsing, always doing what they do. And that was a bit of an inspiration for us as well. Not musically, obviously, but just the way they worked and, you know, how they went about things.
definitely.
And then so Down to the Bone was, it was just a real good time. It was a good time. It actually was an EP. It was an EP. It was called The Definition of Insanity. And then the French came and said, we really like this and we'd like to do something with this, a French label, but we don't do EPs in France. You got to come up with some other songs. So we come up with some other songs. Our initial thought was to do what I called 3Ps. So they were going to be 3 songs. And every 4 months we'd release 3 songs. And I tell you why we did that, or why we thought about doing that. When we first started, when we recorded demos at home, I'd make CDs and just give them to the audience. So the next time they came to see us, they'd know 3 of our songs backwards if they liked us. And then when they came to the second gig, I'd give them
3 more.
another CD with 3 songs on it. And it wasn't about the fact, oh, we can't give our songs away. We weren't giving our songs away. We're still going to record them properly anyway. But the demos had a vibe on them. And, you know, you do 10 shows and suddenly everyone knows 6 of your songs backwards. And it worked. So the idea was to do 3Ps, so 3 songs. And we did one called The Venom Principle. That was, And those songs were then put onto The Definition of Insanity and another couple of songs, and it became Down to the Bone. So it was kind of a hodgepodge, but in the end, people don't talk about The Definition of Insanity or The Venom Principle. They talk about Down to the Bone. So yeah,
Mate, that's
that's
very forward thinking for its time. And bands now are replicating that, where they only release 2 or 3 songs at a time.
yeah.
So very forward thinking for its time, but the
I
crowd would have been amazing.
Yeah, I would have thought now EPs are even better.
Yeah.
Because there's so much music out now. And if your band is based around a live show, you're not going to put 10 new songs in your set. You're gonna put 3 or 4 maybe. So why not just record 3 great songs and put them in your set, and then everyone knows them and has them.
That's right.
You know? And never has to say again, how come you don't play this anymore? Yeah. Or you've never played that before.
Exactly.
Mm.
At this point, you're starting to get a lot of national and international attention. We spoke about some of the tours that you've joined before. We've mentioned Whitesnake, Judas Priest, Alice Cooper, Glenn Hughes, and how dare I forget Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Touring with those guys, what were the greatest learnings that you took from them all to put into Electric Mary?
Whitesnake was the first.
Yeah.
So So just the fact that we could play with them was awesome. And I asked
Cool.
if
David Coverdale is one of your idols, and
yeah. Well, we'll get this. I asked if Venom and I could meet him, and they said no because we were fans. And he actually came into the room after the gig and put his hand out and said, oh, yeah, fucking great show, man. And that was it. He turned and left, and that was enough for me. But it was the keyboard player, Timothy Drury, who also played with the Eagles as well. He said to me, I'm going to help you, man. I don't know how I'm going to help you. I don't know what I can do, but I really like you guys. And
wow.
you know, we're still friends to this day. We stayed with him in San Jose for a little while. So he actually got us to go to Europe with Whitesnake, and this is how the whole European thing started. There was a few things that I suppose Deep Purple, Glenn Hughes, and Whitesnake didn't like about Electric Mary was the fact that we started our show exactly the same way as they started theirs. And I got that from Deep Purple, no doubt about it. Da, da, yeah, so yeah, that was a bit of a we kept that for a while, and we've moved on from it now. But yeah, look, just the fact that all those bands, you know, it doesn't matter how old they are or whatever, they meant it. Like they went on stage and they meant it. To me, they weren't picking up a check. They were playing because that's what they do. And even as far as, you know, Ian Pace from Deep Purple, the drummer, I spoke to his drum tech, right? I was talking to him one day and I said, oh, do you have a family? And he just went like that, you know, put his hand around. He goes, I've been with Deep Purple for 32 years.
Wow.
This is my family.
That's his
and
family.
I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you mean it. This is, yeah. Alice Cooper was awesome. Like he had words of encouragement all the time, telling us, you know, how good we were because there'd been, you know, support bands who didn't work with his crowd, and it took Alice quite a few songs to get the night back up because it was sort of brought down. And he said, you know, you guys just go out and do your thing. And I said to I say this to everyone when we're supporting. I said it to a guy that they were playing in Germany with a band called Massive Wagons. There's a little bit of a thing on at the moment. And I talked to, I don't know if it was their manager or stage manager about the show and that. And I said, oh, don't worry. You know, we know our place. We know we're the support act, and that's what we do. We're here to support you, and we try and put on a great show, and then you just come on and do your thing. And yeah, he was, yeah. Well, he sent back a message saying, mate, it's okay. Our boys are okay. There won't be any, you know, silly things. We'll all have a great night, which is cool, which is what I want to do too. When I play with the band, the only thing I've ever said is if we buy special lights, if we hire special lights, you just don't get to use them. Everything else, PA's the same, the lights are the same, whatever.
Yeah. Fantastic.
It's about everybody, dude. It's about everybody having a good night.
And the crowd as well, right? We'll throw a third group into that mix as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You spoke about your closeness to Tim from Whitesnake. You went to Europe and toured with Whitesnake. How was that experience, opening yourself up to a new audience?
Absolute madness, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and they just loved us.
Yeah.
From, you know, soon as we started, because they would not know who we are. Who are these guys from Australia? And, you know, there's a bit of, oh, well, let's go and have a look there from Australia. The French and the Spanish, especially to me, love AC/DC. Oh my God.
They do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like every town we go into in those countries has an AC/DC tribute act.
Wow.
They love it. And because they think Australia's so small, some people have thought, that I know Angus because we're just a small country. It's like, nah.
Lives around the corner.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. But yeah. So yeah, the French. There was a guy over there. There's a big radio guy, and he was the one who founded, like really brought AC/DC to the French. His name is Francis Zagut, and it was pretty amazing. We did a show in the back of a cafe after the first White Snake show, and it was a shitty gig, man, like a shitty gig. There was probably about 50 people in there, but it was packed. And he actually introduced us. Now, obviously, we don't know one word he said, but his speech went for about 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and
Wow.
everyone was silent because it was Francis Zagut.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know, he was like the Molly Meldrum, but in a different kind of way. I mean, you take Molly Meldrum, people might want to say, oh, this is whatever, hanging shit on him, whatever. But Molly Meldrum brought a lot of music to Australians on a Sunday night.
Mate, he certainly did. Australian rock and radio at that time, pre-Molly, was probably confined just to Australian rock and music, with the occasional splatter in an international area. Molly really turned that around and opened our eyes to music across the world. So we do owe a lot to Molly. Tell me about your Alive in El Dorado album. If my research is correct, from your 2014 European tour, you had all of these tapes from your live concerts which went missing, but you later rediscovered them. Tell me the story behind that.
Well, that tour, actually, Jack came back for that tour, 2014. And we're in a place called El Dorado, which is a pretty, it's like a home away from home for us.
Nice.
The guy who runs it, Juan, he's a fan of ours, and we're definitely a fan of his. He had a guy, he said, oh, look, there's a guy who can record your show on Pro Tools if you want.
Wow.
And he said it's only €300. So when I heard €300, my brain said, oh, this must be, just a little fiddly thing. And because if it was any good, it wouldn't cost €300. It would cost €3,000.
Yeah.
But I said yes anyway. And I said, look, the only thing is you have to give it to me. You can't go making stuff and putting it out there without. Anyway, and I put it in a bag beside my bed, and it stayed there for who knows how long, more than a year at least. And one day I was just rifling through looking for something, and I saw them, and I said to Pete, oh, do you still have that thing where you can play these tapes? They're big, thick tapes. I don't even know what they were. And he said, yeah. And he rang me and he goes, mate, might want to come over and listen to this. It's actually pretty good. And I went, really? He's like, yeah. So we got together. I think there's 10 songs on it. It's mostly from the second night, I believe. And then Alex had the idea that he wanted to use the machine who produced and mixed Clutch, or a couple of Clutch records.
Right.
So he sought him out over the internet and found him, and he was more than happy to do it.
Wow.
It was really good, man. He sprinkled his magic over, whatever we did. And so that, if I was to, someone was to say, oh, you're in a band, what should I listen to? I'd say that. Yeah. I'd say Alive in El Dorado, because it's got songs from everywhere, and it's true. It's true. It's live. That's what it is.
And it really captures that live sound that Electric Mary are well known for as well. It is out there. So if you haven't listened to it, guys, go out and have a listen, because it's a fantastic album.
Yeah.
2017, the single Woman, one of your video clips that you do have.
Yeah.
Woman itself is another just pure great classic rock type of sound. But I'm interested in the video. Where was the video recorded?
The video was recorded in a place called Inglewood in Bendigo.
Inglewood. Okay.
Yeah, it's straight out of what's the name? What's it called? With Samuel L. Jackson and what's his name? Because that's where they went to Inglewood to get out of what was it called? Come on, man. You know the movie. John Travolta and
Pulp Fiction. Thank you.
Pulp Fiction. They went to Inglewood, man. He's coming from Inglewood. Yeah, so it's a place in Bendigo, and again the 300 seemed to come up because we paid a girl, that's all she wanted at the time, $300 to run a GoPro, not a GoPro, what's the flying one?
Yeah.
How am I going?
Yep.
The drone. How am I going with my terminology? The flying GoPro.
I'm meant to be making you think, but you're making me think. That's not right.
Yeah. No, she did an amazing job, man. And Alex had the idea for it, and he basically put it together and produced it. So for the last bunch of years, Alex has been doing all the, videos and that kind of production. We usually have Chowie on there with our photos, and between mostly Alex, but between him and Alex, we put some things together. We've got a great new clip coming up for the new song, actually, which I'm really happy about. Awesome. But the song "Woman" was written by Pete, and I think he just gave me a CD with no vocals on it, and I just drove around for a week trying to work out what to sing, and what you see is what you get, or what you hear is what you get. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, looking forward to that. We then move on to the 2019 album, Mother, and just reading some of the reviews that we conducted of that album, one that stood out for me was, every track here is a surefire scorcher. And to be honest, it really is. How was the recording process for that different to the other two albums?
Well, as you've just alluded to, it took 2 years because Woman's from those recording sessions. So that was
2017, Mother 2019.
Yeah, but Mother was recorded in 2017, ongoing. What happened was, so I suffered a little bit from depression and anxiety, and the anxiety was the one that got me. That really got me. That really made me feel weird. I mean, I'm not worried about talking about it because, as we know, we should be talking about it.
Exactly.
But I'd go to a store or something and walk to the door and then stop and do a U-turn, and I didn't understand at all. And so, I went to the doctors to do that. So in that time, which was, we also cancelled Sweden Rock and Hellfest again. Wow. Like they're two massive festivals.
They are.
But honestly, I couldn't do it, man. I used to just go to rehearsal and we'd be playing and that, and I'd just look at the boys and go, I gotta go. Like they didn't understand it the first couple of times, but after the fifth time, they just went, yeah, okay, man, no worries. And I just go, and I don't have a reason for it. I don't know why it happened, but it just happened. And, I got it sorted out now. The only time I stop and turn away is when I look in the mirror. I'm getting uglier by the day.
Mate, you don't want to see the mirrors in my place, let me tell you. But that's real good honesty, and thank you for sharing that with us. You're absolutely right. Men's health, we need to talk about this stuff more often. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Everybody's health, really.
Well, that's true.
It could be mums, dads, brothers, sisters.
But us blokes talk about it, right?
Yeah, of course. Blokes just think they're tough and I'll get through that, And, in all honesty, and I'm not afraid to say this, I would have said before it happened to me, Oh, come on, mate. You're all right.
Mm.
Do you know what? You know what made me really think about it? A friend of mine, um, tried to take his own life, and his dad found him. And he was telling me, this was a few years before. He was telling me, I used to just lay on the couch and I couldn't get up. And I'm like, what are you talking about, mate? You're you're 6'3". You just get off the couch, mate. That's what you do. He goes, nah, I couldn't get off the couch, mate. And when it happened to me, I thought of him and I went, wow. I'd be laying on the couch. I'd just go to sleep at 5:30. I'll just bury my head in the couch and just go to sleep, and I wouldn't care. It's everyone should talk about it if you can. Feel free to talk. Feel free to talk to me. Anyone, I'm there for you because I've been through it before. I don't have all the answers, of course, and nobody does because we're all different people running on a different DNA system. Some of us might be 91 unleaded, but a lot of us are 98 or high octane.
That's
methanol. I'm running on methanol.
It's interesting. There was a UFC competition over the weekend, and one of the winners out of that, he lost a friend through the same sort of situation, and he basically addressed the crowd and said, "We have to talk about it. I'd rather have you cry on my shoulder than go to your funeral next week. So please, everyone, reach out."
Absolutely.
Rusty, let's move back onto the music. Last year, a new single, The King of Rock and Roll, which really, to me, sounds like an ode to some of the old rockers that are still going around. We've mentioned David Coverdale, who's still strong, Australia's own Bon Scott. Is it really a single that praises the forerunners of rock and roll here in Australia?
Well, you know what? It was originally written about Bon Scott. It was Alex's idea. He goes, because I always walk around saying, I'm the king of rock and roll. You know that. I'm the king of rock and roll. Anyway, he said, you should write a song about yourself. You think you're the king of rock and roll? I said, yeah, all right, I will. And I had a guitar in my hand, and I'll play it just like this. And that, I swear to you, that riff just come out. Da 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 da. And I went, right, yeah, cool. So I started writing it about myself, like in the third person. That didn't work. Then I thought, I'll write it about Bon Scott. And then I realized that I didn't know enough about him as a person. Like, I didn't personally know him anyway. I knew him through songs, but I didn't really know him. And I couldn't write it. So I wrote about, basically, like you're saying, about a mismatch of everybody. And, there's plenty of people that don't ever really make it, but they may have had one hit. And and they still go around, they play, and there's an audience that wants to see that one hit.
Yeah.
So it was more about that. It was just kind of, I guess, paying homage to a whole lot of people. But initially it was about Bon Scott. And although I never told him or asked, I wanted, I'm having a mental blank now. I wanted the singer of Airborne to sing it with me. I wanted to see if he would do a Joel O'Keefe. Yeah. I wanted to see if he'd do a verse with me. I never asked. But I thought it was a good idea. Actually, Juno Roxas sang on that song as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, Juno sings the choruses.
There you go.
The end bit.
Band from the early 90s, Roxas.
Yeah, and a friggin' good singer too, man. Like, now he's a huge Lou Gramm, Paul Rogers. We have these conversations. We haven't spoken for a while, but we've had these conversations before about Paul Rogers and that.
Yeah, great vocalist.
Yeah, great singer. In fact, I played in a band for a little while with Mick Peeling, who used to play in a band from Adelaide called the Stars, and they were around the same time as Cold Chisel. And he's a huge Paul Rogers fan. I remember coming back very early on when I was in the band. I think I was like 23 or something. And I said to Mick, I didn't know them that well. I said, "Oh, do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Not do you like? Do you know David Coverdale?" He goes, "Yeah, of course I do. Awesome." I said, "Oh yeah, one of my favorite." He goes, "What about Paul Rogers? Because Coverdale took a lot of things from Paul Rogers." And I said, "Really?" I said, "I think I said who's Paul Rogers." He goes, "All right now." Oh, all right now. I love that song, of course. And I didn't really know Free back then. I knew songs, of course. My Brother Jake, Wishing Well, and I knew those songs.
Oh, yeah.
And when he started playing me Free, I actually got a little bit devastated because I thought, oh, David Coverdale, you have taken quite a bit from Paul Rogers here. So look, Coverdale's my love. He's
Yeah.
my love.
Yeah.
But if you would ask me who's the greatest rock singer, I'd say Paul Rogers for sure.
You put up a very good argument there.
Like, he's incredible, man.
He is. Just talking about the single, The King of Rock and Roll, it's actually the first release from your own production company. You do your own production, but you also offer mentoring services to new artists.
Yeah.
And it's really good to see that someone who's been in the industry for as long as you have, Rusty, to put it back into the industry and help aspiring artists. What is the best piece of advice that you can give people who are looking to enter the music industry?
Oh, God. If you want the honest truth, I'd say get a whole bunch of money and move out of Australia.
Yeah.
Or get a whole bunch of money and buy onto somebody's tour so that you just immediately get to play in front of a lot of people at once. Because it's a struggle now, man, because rock music is not the music of today for us anymore. It was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and a bit of the 90s. People loved it, man, but it's just not that anymore. It's more your R&B and all that stuff.
Do you see that audience, like people our age, in attendance rather than young people at a rock gig?
Yeah, well, I'm probably not the same age as you, but yes. I'm
Rusty.
I'm 62. You're not 62, man.
I'm catching up pretty quickly, let me tell you.
Yeah, look, our audience would be older. We see a few younger ones in Europe, and in the UK, you can see younger ones because you can go to a pub when you're 12 with your parents and watch a band.
Oh wow!
And we don't let anyone do that. You just have a wristband on that you can't drink or any of that stuff. But I think it's an awesome idea. I've met heaps of people at Dorado, brought their kids. Kids put the headphones on. They might be 12, 14 years old, whatever, and they love it. The parents don't have to find a babysitter. I mean, when you first say it, when the words come out of your mouth, it probably sounds weird, but it's actually not weird. Awesome. I want to see this band. I've got no one to look after the kid. I'll take him along and I'll teach him about rock and roll. I mean, your parents are your gatekeepers.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, I wish it was here in Australia because I'd be trying to get my kids out of that R&B stuff that you talk about and into the classic stuff. But I'm fighting a losing battle, mate.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. There is a rule in the car though. If I'm driving, that you have to listen to what I want to listen to, or bad luck.
My car, mate. I'm on a losing battle there too. Anyway, we're on the eve of your European tour.
Yep.
What are the massive stages that you'll be playing in Europe coming up?
I don't know how massive they're going to be. Actually, we've got mostly our own shows. I think the first show we're doing might be a festival. There's one called Raismus, which is with The Darkness, the main act. I think we're two before them. There's another one, Bouliac on the Rock, or Rock on the Bouliac on the Rock, I think it is. That's more like a hot rod festival thing, and we're the headlining act for that. So that'll be huge. I feel like they're going to be at those kind of things. like a smaller, like a 3,000 to 5,000 kind of thing, 3,000 to 7,000, whatever,
Yeah.
somewhere in between there. They wouldn't be any lower than 3,000, but
That's
hey,
fantastic. Yeah.
I ain't complaining about that, especially if we're headlining.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the rest of the shows.
Oh, we've lost you there, Rusty. Hopefully you can still hear us.
I'll message you later. Um,
Back. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think we've got 15 shows.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, we go for about a month. Pete and I
That's
were working out the hotels today and stuff where we want to go. So what we like to do is this. If we get a day off, we try and find some kind of historic town and stay there and go and like history. I mean, in Australia, wow. Unless you're going to live with an Aboriginal in the middle of Australia, you don't have any history, man. They have all our history. They know all our history. You know, but in Europe, it's been around for a lot longer, of course.
It has.
And yeah, we like to learn and see things, and yeah, just hang out together. And actually, my birthday is the 8th of September, so we actually have a day off that day. So I think we're going to drive 9 hours first. So I'll celebrate driving 9 hours. We got quite a long drive. I think we're doing 9,000 on this tour. Pete worked out today. Yeah, we do a lot of driving.
Yeah,
that's all right, man. We do a lot of driving in Australia too. So minimum 5 hours to a show we drive, and then we just go and do our thing.
Wow. That's but wherever you are on the 8th of September, somewhere in Europe, if you see Rusty, you owe him a birthday beer.
Yeah.
Rusty, one final question before I get ready for that European tour. There is rumors that you are recording with Electric Mary a new album designed for vinyl. Any truth to the rumor? And if so, when can we expect to see it come to light?
Well, there's no truth at all in that rumor, so I just put that one to bed.
Oh, damn.
Tim Zoo knockout. So we did. COVID has really messed us up, and a lot of other bands and people in general and workplaces and whatever. We probably half or quarter recorded 5 or 6 songs now, and we just never finished them because we'd never been able to go and get to them together, because all of the way we live now is quite different than it was nearly 3 years ago. Like our last show in Europe was the 30th of November 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of things have changed.
You'd be super excited to get back over there, then.
Oh, loving it, dude. And we're already talking about June of 2023 to get back there as well.
Wow.
We just did the tour of Australia under the Southern Stars, which was great. Got to play with Cheap Trick, one of my favorite all-time bands.
Another great band.
and I don't mind telling this story because I think it's funny. And there's no disrespect at all. But when we were playing with Rose Tattoo and they played after us, we were the first band on, they were the second band on, and then the others swapped. So I used to say the boys at rehearsal, now listen, when we go and play, because I love sport, when Rose Tattoo come on after us, they better be good, mate, because I'm gonna be good, and I give a shit what they think, And guess what? They were unbelievable, dude. Oh my god. We actually went to see them at some of their other show, or one of their other shows that wasn't on the tour. They were that good, and the drummer, Paul DeMarco, man, he's a long time Tats man, and he's just got this groove, dude. He's just got it. And I said angry one day, and I didn't really know him. I said, you're going to piss me off right now, aren't you? And he just looked at me. He goes, huh? I said, you're not going to warm up, are you? You're just going to go and sing. He's like, yeah, that's what I do. I sing. And I went, Yes, you do. And good guys, man. I could see them side of stage watching us, and you know, not encouraging, but you know, they were there.
Support.
They didn't have to. They didn't
No,
have to be there. If they didn't
no.
want to, they could have stayed in their room or whatever they did. But you know, it was cool. I'd love to go, you know, to even just do a few shows with them somewhere. I really, you know, I had my ass handed to me, and I was quite happy about it. I didn't care. Yeah, it's like, okay, there's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
You know, probably more than all the other bands I've ever played with. Rose taught me, you
Like
know,
we spoke
as
about those
much.
bands, but if your most powerful lesson is from Angry and the Boys, that's a pretty big lesson.
Yeah, it was very cool. But anyway, going back to your other question, we are recording a new song. I'm about to sing the vocals on Wednesday, and it should be done. The boys have already done the music. Yeah, it's 3 days gone. It's cool, and it's cool. I like it. It's
Nice.
one of the better ones we've done. Look, I always think everything's good, but of course, not everyone agrees with me. But this one's real good. This one's real good. Yeah, Alex came to me with the music, and I went, "Oh my god, I'm going to do that. Give me a copy of that so I can just sing along." Same with like
Yeah.
Woman with Pete. Just give me a copy so I can just sing along. You know, because you got to realize, and I learnt this from Sting, watching a doco on him. If you're writing a song and you've got a guitar in your hand, you pretty much go to where you're comfortable with all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I
When
can
I
see.
when yeah, when I was writing Down to the Bone, I would record the stuff demo form at home and then sing afterwards.
Yeah.
So that I didn't have an instrument in my hand, and I didn't, you know, I just thought of a whole bunch of different things. I would sing a lot of words. I would sing a few words. I would sing them fast. I would sing them slow. They would be long. They would be short. And you know, I had the opportunity with a little recording studio at home to work out what was best for the song. And this is how I work with the way Pete and Alex, you know, did Woman 3 Days Gone. I would just have it on in the car over and over again. I would just drive around and sing a bunch of things. And if I thought, that sounded all right, I'd pull over and on my phone, I'd record what I just sang and then, you know, try to work it out then. Yeah, I like doing it that way.
Mate, we all look forward to this new single then. Hopefully
Yeah.
the rumored vinyl will come to fruition one day.
There is a vinyl. The Mother's on vinyl, but I think it's only available in France.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
I need to go for the hunt for Mother then. That would be absolute classic for the vinyl collection.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Is there any final word for the fans of Electric Mary out there?
Well, stay true to rock and roll, the rock, the roll, the swagger, and the soul. Keep it in you, and we'll be back at the end of 2022, and we'll do some more.
I look forward to it. Look forward to it. Well, on behalf of Rockhouse Mag, really appreciate your time. Good luck over in Europe, mates, and celebrate your birthday in style over there.
Thank you. I'll be 23. Awesome.
Thanks, mate. Look after yourself.
See you. Thank you.